Welcome back to Inside the Stuff. Anybody remember when we started a video series about Japanese touring cars? Yes, I do. Do you? Probably not, because we only did 2 videos for it out of like 10 that need to be done. So, welcome back to the Stash project about the All Japan Touring Car Championship Series. And to catch all of you up, if you go back about 4 months in the videos, there you will find a video about the first developmental seasons of the All Japan Touring Car Championship Series, and then you will find a video specifically dedicated to the 1988 season, which was where we started breaking them up into each year, because it's just way too much information to do by like car manufacturer or anything else, in my personal opinion. That's why I decided to split them up. If you want to split them up some other way, well, that's up to you. We recorded a video for the 1989 season. Upon watching it back in editing, I realized that I had bjorked up information, added a kit, a set of decals to a kit that didn't actually run in the 1989 season, and yeah, it was just basically a hot mess, and I decided, obviously, not to release that video. I ended up just deleting it altogether, and then thinking, well, I'll grab it, next time I have a chance, I will, re-record it. And then, of course, we spent the last 4.5 months driving a truck over the road, and really didn't do much modeling at all. Really didn't touch anything to do with anything other than trying to get the weekly shows out in some sort of time that resembled on time. You guys will know all the issues we had with trying to find internet access, and eventually just figuring out how to do things through the phone and everything else. This sort of took a back seat to all of that, because this is a video series I sort of created on a whim. It's just something fun to do, to sort of share my kit collection and information that I've obtained with everybody else. Maybe get people interested in this, in these cars, in these kits, because hey, the more these kits they sell to people, the better chances we have of them more of them being made, obviously. So, where we're at is this is going to be the video for the 1989 season, hopefully recorded correctly this time. I also, in case you start watching these videos and I'm wearing the same shirt through several of them, am planning to record several seasons worth of these videos all at one time, because YouTube now gives you the opportunity through their uploading tools to upload videos, I don't want to say in absentia, but basically you schedule them out. So I could record like 4 or 5 seasons worth of videos today, schedule one to release like every Wednesday from, here through the end of the month, and I don't have to do anything else with them. I just upload them, schedule them, and they'll just automatically, release out to you guys. And that's probably the best way for me to get this done, because if I sit down to do like one season at a time, like, oh, I'll record 1990 tomorrow. No, I won't. I have something else to do, and there'll be some crisis of family, and I'll never get around to it, and we'll be sitting around for another 4 months waiting for these videos to hit. So that is my plan. We'll see how well it works. But this video, again, the 1989 season. So when I recorded the 1988 season video, I realized afterwards that I forgot a very important kit. And since this series was dreamt into being, a kit that didn't even exist has been released. So the kit that I forgot about entirely is pretty famous, if just because it's so hard to find at this point in time. And that is this, the Tamiya Toyota Supra Turbo Group A racing car. So this car in its Minolta Tom's livery ran the 1988 JTCC season. There were a pair of team cars, and both teams' cars are in the decals. And I would really love to find several of these, probably 4, or at least 2, because there are aftermarket livery decals for this kit. Like, a lot of times you find these Minolta cars, their kits, the decals are shot in them, but that's okay, because Shunko makes replacements for it, right? You don't have to use the kit decals. That still doesn't seem to make these any cheaper, even when you find them with torch decals, because the kits themselves are so hard to get a hold of in the racing format. For some reason, they made the street car format for several years, up until, I should say, several years ago, but this racing car, they did one release of back in 1989 or something like that, and that's it. It's never been reissued. tell me I could make a pretty much a boatload of money right now, just from me personally, if they'd reissue the Supra and the Sierra, right? I'm sure there's probably something else I'm thinking about. I know a lot of people like to have the Volvo kits back, the Estate and the Wag and the Saloon, but there's something else that I'm thinking of that they released. I'd love to see the Primeras come back, although at this point I really don't need any. I'd love to see the Exiv get released again, the 1995 season, because there are other liveries that could be done for those cars. And then the 635i. Now, the 635i's had a more recent reissue in like the 2012 region or so when they did the Jägermeister car, which is probably why Studio 27 still has all the 635 decals still in production. But that was, it was 8 years ago now. It's about time to put that car back out. I should say it's not 2012, 2008. It's been 10 years. So, with that being said, the other kit that we have to talk about real quick before we start getting into the sort of the meat and potatoes of this video is another kit from 1988 season, and that is this, the Hasegawa Team Nismo Rico sponsored Skyline R31. This kit was not even announced at the time we started doing this series, so there was like no way for me to include this in the video series because I didn't know it was coming. So this is a 1988 season car as well. It won the first and third races of the season, placed well in a couple other races. Ultimately wasn't enough to dethrone the Sierras, which would win the season again. But be that as it may, this kit is now out and available. And that'll take us into the 1989 season stuff. So there's a whole bunch of kits and a whole bunch of aftermarket decals. Most of the kits and aftermarket are going to focus on two things. The R31 and Darth Civic. So the other 1989 kit that exists in the R31 series is this. It is the Calsonic car. Now this, of course, will become an iconic livery in touring and grand touring and what would now be Super GT. Because in Super GT, they still run an R35 based GTR in the Calsonic Blue number 12. The number of this car will change several times, as you'll see in the coming videos of the next couple seasons when it ran as the R32. But in the the end of 1993, or end of 1992s, or 1993 season, I think it's 93, the rules about touring cars change substantially, and so the R32, the GTRs, the Godzilla cars, they end up going with All Japan, the Japanese Grand Touring Championship, which would become Super GT, and of course the regular JTCC becomes a like four-door touring series. So this is sort of the introduction of Godzilla, right? This car won the second race of the year in 1989. I believe the decals in here basically are the same for 1988, and it did win several races in 1988 as well. So I believe in here, although I haven't really particularly looked, we're going to take half a second to see if there's two sets of drivers' names on these decals. This car was basically the same for 1988 as well, and it does not appear. Nope, looks like it just has the 1989 guys in here, I believe. I'd have to go look in the... I think I actually have the seasons up here. Let me see. What did this car run in 1988? Okay, it is the same driver. So I believe you could build either the 1988 or the 1989 car out of this. And like I said, in 1988, this car did substantially better as far as overall finishes. So it's up to you to sort of figure out what you want to do with that. I'm not sure if the associated sponsorships are any different, if this car just basically is what it is, because it's not really dated per se on the box, but the instructions do say 1989 in the comment section about what the car is supposed to be. So this is out there, and it, like I said, did win a race, so that's available. And then the Civics. Most of the stuff is going to be Civics, right? Before we go into the Civics, let me give you the other set of decals that are available for that Hasegawa kit. So from Decal Pool, you have this set right here. This is the Reebok car, and this would be your championship car for 1989. It's designed to fit the new Hasegawa kits, obviously. I've seen some people having some, issues with some of the decal pull decals recently. Although this is a brand new set, so perhaps not so much. I believe the last thing I saw getting built with decal pull decals was an older set of decals. But right now, this is the only way to get the Reebok set, and this is the only way to build the 1989 Championship Series car. So take that under advisement. The Championship car Series car did win the third, the fourth, and the fifth race of the season. So it's definitely the car that performed the best out of the Skylines. Also, before we go into the Civics real quick, I want to mention this set of decals here that are still available through Studio 27, and this is the Bio liveried Toyota Supra. So this is why I said I would like to have more than one Toyota Supra, because I like to build one as the 1988 season and one as the 1989 season. Now, in 1989, the Supra was sort of very outclassed by the other cars in Division 1, and it didn't actually podium or really finish that well in any race at all, but it is an option for people who want to build all of the available kits and liveries for a given season. So that'll take us over to the Civics, of which we have many to discuss. So first up, you have, well, technically this isn't first up because this will be the second release, but first up in the boxes, the stack stands in my hands, is this, the EF3 modal car. Now you may remember this car has a 2-in-1 livery set, and it allows you to build either the 1988 or the 1989 season. So there are decals in here to build the 1989 season car. And within its class, now mind you, the Honda Civic being a little four-banger against these turbocharged inline sixes didn't stand a chance overall. But within its class, this car won the first race and the fourth race of the season in its class. So two class wins for this vehicle. And then you have what was the first car that was reissued or released by BMAX in this EF3 Civic, is this, the Pia liveried Civic. So this car won the third race of the season in its class. So that's another podium finishing car that is available. Now, everything else I have for you here, guys, are going to be decal sets for the Civic. From Auto Color, which is BMAX's sort of house brand of decals, they made for their kit, obviously, the famous Playboy cabin liveried Honda Civic, the number 85 car. This is, of course, a tobacco livery with a cabin sponsorship. Let's just say, Camry, you want to calm down there? Thank you. And this car finished second in the third race of the season. So that will be its highest place in the entire season, be second in the third race of the season. And then you have this set here from Studio 27 that does sort of a twofer. Right? This is a Rezo sponsored car. Now the number 20, which is sort of what is really technically the backside of the decal sheet, is the Gia Race of Macau car. So we're not technically, very cool that it's in there, but not what we're interested in as far as this decal sheet goes. What we're interested in is this vehicle on the back here that is the number 3 sponsored car for the 1989 Intertech race, right? So the Intertech race is always the last race of the season. And I suppose the configuration is direct to that last race of the season. But this car also ran all of the entire season. So this car's best finish was third place in the first race of the season. So another podium car. And then we have this little number here. This is a set that Frankie made. This is the SK decal set for the Idemitsu Motion Mugen car, the number 100 car. And this set, which again fits the EF3 Civic for the 1989 season, finished first in the fifth race of the season. So yet another podium car. It's kind of impossible, effectively, to make all of the podium for any given race just because of how wide open the racing was, with 3 divisions of cars, and so occasionally in terms where you could be like, oh, I have this class 2 car or this class 3 car. It's like, yeah, but comma, there's this issue with, something else. So I think the only thing you can really do here in terms of making more than one thing for one race would be to do the third race of the season, in which case you could put, you've got the number 50 decals, you could put the Reebok car up for its class, the Pia car up for its class, and then you would have the cabin car coming in second in the Division 3 class, which would be the closest thing you could do to building more cars, more cars to any one given race than just having them be like, this car won this race, this car won this race. But there again, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 cars that you can build out of the 1989 season, and like I said, all of them podium, except that Bio Supra, which didn't. But the Supra thing, I think. There's been a lot of consternation in the real car, one-to-one car world about the current new Supra, the one that's built off of the BMW chassis, and how ugly it is compared to the outgoing Supra. Personally, me, being an 80s kid, I think the A70 Supra, which is what this is, was the most attractive Supra. I don't really care for the 2000 Supra. I know it's like heresy for somebody who's into Japanese cars to not like the A80 Supra, but A70 Supra is like where my heart is, because as a kid, like a kid in the single digits, when we would take our cars in for service, we had Toyotas when I was a kid. And you get to play in the showroom, something there's no way in the world that let kids run around the showroom in a car dealership in these days. But back in those days, one of the ways you just kept the kids busy was to just let them loose in the showroom and let them sit in cars and stuff like that. And so a lot of my childhood memories about the Supra are those. I would love to have, when I was a kid, had a Supra and a 4Runner from like 1988, 1989, somewhere in there. But hey, that's just me personally. Anyway, guys, I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found it informative as we try to bring this series back out of the dead. And we'll see you guys on the other side.